This is the Learn Live Music podcast. We're going to have some of the leading practitioners in the industry on the podcast. It could be musicians, crew, creatives, management, and hearing their stories from the road, how they got into the industry, tips, things that they're working on, different trends, all kinds of things of that nature. And this is our episode 0. So we just wanted to do a little intro for you so you could get a bit of a feel about what you might be able to expect. So my name's Matt. I might be hosting, or it might be my co-founder who joins me today, Joe Clegg. How's it going, Joe?
Going well, thank you, mate.
So for people who don't know you, could you just give us like a couple of sentences on the kind of work that you do in the music industry?
Yeah, well, my name is Joe Clegg. I'm a musical director, live music producer, as I like to refer to it. I started off as a drummer, and I found myself in a position on a gig that turned into an international touring gig that turned into playing pretty much every TV and radio show that there is, all the way from clubs through to arenas and to some stadium shows. And then from there, a career working for other artists and artist management, helping them develop their live show and the way their live show sounds as the live music producer role.
That's cool. So for context, tell us just a little bit more about maybe some of the venues you've played, some of the sort of size of tours that you've been on and that kind of thing, so people can just figure out where in the industry you've been and kind of things you've done.
I started off playing to 10 people or less as a kid, and then touring straight out music school, playing to sort of club size shows around Europe, some tours in America like the South by Southwest. You go and do a festival gig to 100 people perhaps. My real breakthrough professionally was when I met Ellie Goulding. We started off playing to, I think our first show was 10 or 15 people in Brighton in 2009. And with Ellie, I was with her as her touring drummer and musical director all the way through to 2020. And in that time, her career just kept on rising. All the way we did her Delirium World Tour, which was all arenas, 85 arenas around the world in 2016. Again, as a musical director and drummer. And then off the back of that, myself as musical director, as a live music producer, I was involved in the Mumford & Sons Delta World Tour, plus lots of other artists, sort of at Summit Arena level, mainly at club theatre level, but international. And then most recently this year, with Bastille, their UK arena tour has just finished. They are in North America right now.
Very cool. So now, having done these arena tours and things of that level, you continuing to do that, you're sharing more of the experience and some of the things you've picked up along the way through Learn Live Music. So what's been the impetus to start that? What's kind of motivated you to say this is a good time to sort of share that more widely, the things you've learned?
Well, it really stems from my personal journey, and that is from a small town in the northwest of England, being told at my careers advisor when I was 16 that I should never pursue a career in music, which I think is a bit of a cliche story for a lot of musicians, a lot of creative people as well, I guess. It's hard to make it in the arts, but I wasn't willing to let that dictate my future, and that led me into music school outside of London and approaching an artist off the internet saying, I love your voice, I'd love to play drums for you, which changed my career and my life. That happened because I was actively listening and trying to find things that I loved musically to be part of, my desire to play my instrument, my drums, and be prepared to push and graft as hard as I could to see where that would take me, to hopefully achieve my dreams at that time was to play an arena and not necessarily tour the world several times and go on to do the things that I've done. The big thing for me was at every step along that journey, I never really felt like I had the resources. I felt like I was equipped with the knowledge base to know how much should I charge myself as a drummer on a major label show, or when I was asked to be a musical director, which I had no idea what that really meant, how should I charge for that? And then when we did the TV or the radio show, what's a buyout and what should the musicians be paid? And navigated that all the way from clubs to arenas. But similarly, the skill set of technology and my application of that in the musical director role was, it was never really contrite. It was, I just want to make the best possible show that I can, the most memorable live show that I can possibly can. And that involved, okay, well, I've not studied how to use Ableton or MIDI or drum pads, but I know that if you plug that into that, and if I find the right people to help me make that sound better, then the sum of the parts means we could perhaps create a more integral show utilizing technology. That wasn't really with the aim to become a musical director touring the world, doing this for lots of other people. It's kind of just the way that panned out. So my journey has been one of sort of just kind of relentlessly pursuing, just want to be the best that I can be. I've learned pretty much everything the hard way and the long way around, made loads of mistakes. Without really having anybody to call on at the time to go, how would you do this? But I'm in a position now after all these years, it's 20 years this year since I graduated from music school, which is crazy. A position now where my friends, my peers are all doing this or have been doing this on arena and stadium shows around the world. And I'm in a position now to share that information, share that knowledge, because I firmly believe that there needs to be resource, or there could be resource, for people like me 15, 20 years ago, asking questions like, oh, how much should I get paid? Or how do I use MIDI to do this? And what if I wanted to have a pop show where there wasn't any track, but we were using technology to recreate everything live, and it was real people, not machines or pre-programmed playback? For no other reason than because we can, or because it's a good idea. Now we have that information, or at least I have that information, and I would love to be a part in creating a home, a platform, a space where people with those questions have the resource to go and learn about it.
What have you done over the last few years? You've had this desire to, fill in this knowledge gap, help, another generation of musicians and creatives like coming through. But you've already started to do that. You've been invited different places. You've been sharing that. What are some of the things that you've done?
Yeah, well, I guess in line with what set out to be, I just want to play my drums and nobody's going to stop me from doing that, to, oh, crikey, I'm in my late 30s and I've been doing this a long time, to be in a position where young drummers are asking me about, oh, how are you using that sample pad? Or how are you, an artist manager saying to me, wait, I've heard that show in 3 or 4 different places. One was a live lounge, or one was a festival set, and one was a Glastonbury live stream. How is your mix consistent? Because our show is good, but it sort of ebbs and flows. Sometimes it broadcasts well, sometimes it doesn't. All to say that the journey for me was learning about mixing and learning about approaching that as a mix engineer, either front of house engineer or the studio engineer. And the last couple of years have been investing my time into furthering my knowledge and the skill sets around that, which led me to, well, I've got the ability to film myself talking about this. I've got the understanding of Ableton and the software. I've got into deliver masterclasses for, we did a series for Ableton. I did a couple of in-person events before the pandemic for Ableton, talking about my journey, my career, and what I do. A webinar for them as well, going into music schools, talking about Ableton. So I thought, if there isn't a bit of content out there which really explains my very specific niche use of this, and people on Instagram messaging me about it, I should just go and make it. There's nothing stopping me doing that. So I did. I just self-funded a project which was a video series called Ableton Live for Drummers, and I went into a studio in London and filmed that with my mates. And it was about an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of me talking about, I guess, the process of, here's a stem, here's a mixed WAV, here are the stems, here are multi-tracks, this is what those terms mean, here's an Ableton session, here's how the software works, and then rebuilding a track, taking apart kick stem, snare stem, and sampling it and reprogramming that in Ableton, and eventually playing that at the end of the series. So that's kind of been, I did that myself, and off the back of that, the response from lots of people that have downloaded that and watched it, who are now out in the industry working, it's been crazy.
Yeah, I love that. So just as a high level overview, I'd love to hear about your hopes for Learn Live Music. And this is like a new venture, it's embryonic, but it's a very descriptive title for this project. Like, there's a lot of scope there, but a lot of opportunity as well through these relationships that you've talked about, and that chance for people to have access. And I think that's something that's so difficult. Like, I know, as thinking back to, like, as a young musician, I just didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't have access to the right people to be able to ask them how I could take the next step or find out how to do something. So in terms of like that top level, that big idea, like what are your hopes about what Learn Live Music might be or might achieve?
Well, like you said, it's such a broad subject. I would really hope that Learn Live Music was a home for actually showcasing and highlighting the breadth and width of possibilities within live music. So, in context of where we're starting with Ableton Live for drummers, for instance, it's just a tiny small part of the touring economy, of the touring world. When you think of every job role, every department within a tour, an arena tour, a stadium tour, there are potentially 100 or more people, all with very precise defined roles, from front of house, tour management, production management, riggers up in the ceiling, hanging lights and power and video, all the way down to the people who are programming the shows or people playing the drums. So what my hope for Learn Live Music is be able to showcase all of that. And that stems from me, from my passion. I love music. Yeah, sure, cliche. But I love live music. I remember being the first time I went to an arena when I was 14 years old. I remember how it felt, actually. I remember the show, but I remember the feeling. I remember looking around left and right and feeling sort of the hairs on my arms stand up. I think 20,000 people, all from different walks of life, would never, not necessarily be in this close proximity to each other, shared in this unified moment, and that's music, that's the communicator, is the reason why we're all here. That felt very profound for me. And after doing this, yeah, I've been in the industry for so long, I still want to keep doing it because I still absolutely love that. And I'm as curious and intrigued about the science and art of, even the maths of hanging X tonnage in the roof. And I'm as interested in how a system tech sets up a PA that allows that front of house to translate from different venue to venue, as much as that as I am in, the programming side or sound design. There is so much information and so many opportunities for young people, all people, to actually have a career, a great career where they can earn money and travel the world working in music. It's a huge global marketplace. So my hope for Learn That Music is that my friends, my peers, people that I look up to, will find a space where they can communicate their message and their journey, and break it down into teachable segments of things that other people can actually learn and take away with them. So I guess looking back to why I started the Ableton Live for Drummers course, why I, all those years of asking questions about how at this level to do this, how to do that, I like to create a space where there are some answers for people, and hopefully it's compelling and it's useful and it's shot well and it sounds good, aesthetically pleasing to watch and to absorb. And hopefully it creates more opportunities for people to feel empowered and excited about working in music, live music.
Live music is so important to our cultural life, and I think we're all feeling that now because we had it ripped away from us for 2 years. And so if we can do something to support that, through education, that's an incredible opportunity. And everybody who participates in any way through like learning with us, partnering with us, just engaging is part of that. And that's really exciting that we can all support each other and support this thing, which is so important to us. I want to ask you one final question, since this is our first episode of this podcast. Who is your dream guest to have on this podcast? So we might play this clip back in the future, but like going really out there, who's the one person that you'd love to have on?
Wow. Okay. So in context of all music, Rick Rubin, that'd be cool.
He's a great podcaster as well.
Yeah, he is. The McCartney stuff is incredible. Rick Rubin would be fascinating. Gosh, there's so many great people.
Is there anybody in the live space that you think is just, very brilliant and would be very interesting?
Well, from the creative space, as Devlin would be really interesting to speak to and just go listen to her talk eloquently about art in the live space. That'd be cool. There's some incredible front house engineers out there. I mean, there's so many cool people. Imagine Dave Grohl talk about touring and talk about music and talk about everything that Foo Fighters has been, Nirvana has been. That'd be cool. Why not?
Rick Rubin, S. Devlin, Dave Grohl.
Three different
You're
people.
all welcome, by the way, to come on the podcast.